This is David Hartful. Today, I would like to talk to you about the McCone Commission 20-year update. The 1985 update on the McCone Commission was a joint effort by LA County and city governments to evaluate the progress on social issues that were spawned from the Watts riots. A task force was created in 1970 to address 7 key areas: police, welfare, employment, healthcare, housing, transit, and education. The McCone Commission gave actionable recommendations in 1965. LA government implemented some of the plans, modified others, and yet others were completely dropped. The update allowed industry experts to inform the council on their progress. The Watts riots happened from August 11th to 16th of 1965. It caused $40 million in damages, 34 dead, 1,000 injured, and 3,900 arrested. As a result, the McCone Commission created a list of improvements to the vital areas mentioned previously. However, for a host of reasons, very little was done. Poverty was the root, and this report was an attempt to make a new path forward. Police. So there had been some successes on the police force. The force went from 8% minority officers in 1964 to 24 by 1984. Also, there were anti-gang and anti-drug initiatives started in many schools. Neighborhood watch programs increased positive interactions between police and civilians. However, due to various budget cuts, most of these programs were reduced or ended by 1981. Luckily, the National Council of Christians and Jews took over community and human relations training for the police. The National Urban League provided tutoring for the entrance exam for cadets, improving scores. The most significant development from the McCone Commission was the establishment of the Inspector General, which would be an independent evaluator of police conduct. This position was ended in 1977 and replaced by a coordinator on the police commission that would serve the same function. Many Angelenos complained about police response time. The slow response time was partially due to crimes against property being prioritized equally as crimes against people. In the end, 50% of Black Angelenos disapproved of police conduct. Welfare. The McCone Commission wanted to reduce dependency on welfare. LA got some help from the Economic Opportunities Act, and from there they were able to establish the Department of Public Services. This new service provided job placement and training programs for many residents. They also provided daycare for low-income mothers and fathers. They also hired many low-income mothers in this service, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. This public service received many transitions in funding. At one point, it was funded by the Department of Labor, and then that moved to the California state for funding. In the end, very few Black people participated in this program. The Comprehensive Employment Training Act trained 5,000 welfare recipients in job, with only 14% returning to welfare. The CETA was replaced by the Job Training Partnership later in the decade. The commission planned to continue with tax incentives for building businesses in low-income areas, and they also wanted to provide a tax incentive for anyone providing at-home child care. Employment. There were some success stories in the way of employment. The National Urban League led a computer process training academy. Also, there was an effort to renovate 6,000 Watts area homes using local labor. However, none of these programs were expansive enough. The government reported around 70% of Black youth were unemployed. However, the Urban League estimated the number at closer to 50% once one counts underemployed Black people and Black people that have given up looking for work. Ultimately, Failed schools, high child care, and a high-tech job market kept most Black people unemployed. There are also few Black-owned businesses to mitigate this unemployment problem. Healthcare. Improved medical care was a recommendation from the McCone Commission. As a result, a $123 million facility with a section for medical school was built. The hospital funding was 2/3 self-generated, and about 60% of the patients were on Medi-Cal. Due to high crime rate, 83% of the patients came for trauma wound treatment. The H.H. Humphreys Clinic increased immunizations in the Watts area, in addition to serving 121,000 patients. The health department increased inspections of restaurants and grocery stores in the Watts area. One of the complaints from the Watts riots was that many of those stores were selling rotted meat and other goods. Even with all these improvements, Black infant mortality was still twice that of their white counterparts. Housing. Watts had many old, dilapidated homes. Of the 600 low-income housing units, only 300 had been built since the Watts riots 19 years earlier. Also, houses held more people per unit, on average 4.3 people in Watts as opposed to 2.9 in the rest of the city. Efforts to condemn homes that didn't meet building standards led to a housing shortage. Authorities condemned over 2,000 dilapidated units, but only dropped the dilapidated rate by 3%. On the upside, the committee found that road conditions, trash collection, and sanitation were about the same all over the city. Transit. Of all the subcommittees, transit had the most success. Southern California Rapid Transit District won state subsidies in 1971, federal subsidies in 1974. With these funds, they were able to buy smaller transit companies, coordinate efforts. They also transitioned from a radial system to a grid system. They also hope to move towards a subway system in the near future. Education. The McCone Commission recommended that problem schools be labeled emergency schools to help them get funding. In addition, they implemented a literacy program and reduced class sizes to 22 children per class. Despite a small increase in funding from the Secondary Education Act, there was not enough funding to keep these measures up. They fell by the wayside, and the problem still persists today. Another plan from the McCone Commission was to give incentive pay to teachers in disadvantaged areas. This incentive pay was opposed by the teachers union until 1984. In addition, personnel shortages in disadvantaged schools was exacerbated by federal regulations that prevented teachers from transferring to the disadvantaged schools. In the end, the biggest problem was the perception that disadvantaged children couldn't learn. When people believe children are lost causes, it ends up becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. Any school where there was a concerted effort to improve children's grades, the children's grades actually improved. Findings. In the end, the plans from the McCone Commission were hard to implement because of insufficient and sporadic funding. The subcommittee that got the most funding, transit, made the most progress. The one that got the least funding, which was the police, they didn't make as much progress. In the end, the update committee reiterated the same plans from 1965 to move forward. It's important to remember that efforts for change need consistent funding at a level that's going to actually allow them to implement those programs. Thank you for watching this episode on the Watts riots. If you liked it, please follow at WordPress at blackleadershipanalysis.com and give at sdandrace@gmail.com.